Oh yeah, not quite Hollis, Queens, but it is Christmas time. Happy Hanukkah as well, whatever you're celebrating. It's the time of year, right? 'Tis the time of year. I figured, let's try this again. Let's talk some League the Nutz playoffs this week in League the Nutz Run DMC. Taking us in, and again, Matt Levine, the commissioner, to join you as we preview a little bit of what's going on this week in League the Nutz with the round one of the playoffs that are now in full swing. Also, talk a little bit about the ending to the season, which was just very League the Nutz-like, with some madness down to the wire and then some, right? We thought, just like Jaws, just when you think you're out of the water, boom, League the Nutz has got a little wrinkle. Smack dab in your face. So, again, happy holidays to everyone, whether you're celebrating with Hanukkah Harry, oi, to the world, or it's Kris Kringle himself, the big guy, right? Santa Claus. Maybe you celebrate the Kwanzaa. I don't care. Whatever you celebrate, have fun, be safe, and enjoy this time of year, even though a big portion of the country is getting whacked with this big storm, right? So bundle up, I guess I could say. To all you, as we get ready to talk about all that's going on in League the Nutz, and of course, each and every week you've got to start with the hottest team that engulfs you or yours truly in flames, and that is AB's Painted Helmet. How about AB's taking care of business? As King Carl, my former boss at KUN Radio and Television in Louisiana, used to say, may he rest in peace. AB's 180 to 100 over Stanford. Those Nutz. See in the parentheses right there, W7. I really don't see W like that. I say traditionally W. But anyway, 1-7 in a row to end the season. Took the second seed. Sent Stanford Dos Nutz into the offseason with a mark in his first year in League the Nutz at 6-9. Stanford, you did your best. Very competitive week in, week out. Led the league in waiver wire moves. So he's got a distinction for his first season. We'll see you next year. Don't give up hope, right? 7-8 team got in the playoffs, so he was just one win away from making the playoffs in his rookie season. Anyway, great job there by ABs as we take a look at the scoreboard, the final scoreboard for the regular season in League the Nutz 2022. And I'll go over that 175-174 score in a moment. I win my 12th. You see Del Rey, 160-124 over Keldar. Fantastic Fox, big win, 150-144 over Yonkers. Mention ABs. Polk, huge win in the playoffs, 167-108. And Dax picks 165-113 as Smash U finishes the season with a loss but goes into the playoffs as a third seed, loses a second seed on the final week of the season. The playoffs, well, they look like this. And initially, Dingstown was in the playoffs. And this score here was 175 or 174 to 174. Okay? We had a tie. Ties are absolutely deadly in League the Nutz. You had a tie. I'll touch on that with Del Rey and Polk a couple weeks ago. No eggnog. No funny stuff, I promise you. Anyway, just a little energy drink. So shift over into target. You can't see this, but there's a target like there would be in a scope. So I got to get right and center, right, with my ding-a-ling, ding-ding hat. A little Santa Claus. But anyway, what was I saying? I forgot my train of thought. You see, I mess around with my Santa pom-pom. But let's go to this. Oh, I was talking about the tie and how deadly they are in League de Nutz. They're awful. They really are. They're the bane of our existence. And a famous baseball player put ties in great context. And I'll show you right now the quote. Where is it? Where is my baseball player quote? Well, I thought I had it lined up, but maybe I don't. There was a great quote I had by George Brett. Here it is. And what's George Brett known for? A few things. Hemorrhoids, absolutely. World Series with the Royals in '85. Career average over 300. One of the great third basemen in Major League Baseball to ever play. A gamer. Also known for the pine tar incident back in 1981. Goose Gossage threw it. He hit it. Billy Martin challenged it. And the rest, as they say, is history, my fine feathered friends. And he said, if a tie is like kissing your sister, losing is like kissing your grandmother with her teeth out. Okay. He said it. I didn't say it. I'm just repeating it. But yeah, he puts it into context. Ties suck. So as you watch George Brett round the bases, Billy Martin with one of the all-time savvy plays in baseball regarding gamemanship and just being a pain in the you-know-what and an A, bleepity-bleep, busted that one out. And George Brett went absolutely crazy, and that is I think one of the great reactions, natural reactions of a competitor being robbed. That was a go-ahead home run off Goose at Yankee Stadium in the ninth inning. Anyway, ties are awful. Dings loses what was a 174 tie, 175 to 174. They went to the bench, and Dings won handily, okay? He took the matchup, took the 174 because of the bench. Then the NFL did their reviews on plays, and there was what you call a stat correction. My defensive player, a guy named Foye, was the difference maker. I'm waiting for George Brett. See, I got distracted by George Brett. I wanted you guys. Of course, you've probably seen the reaction 8,000 times, but now I'm actually waiting for it and distracting myself. But I'll get on the defensive player in just a moment. Dick Hauser was the manager of that team. May he rest in peace. Billy Martin died, I think, I want to say 89, 90? Christmas weekend in a car accident. Upstate New York. Managed the New York Yankees 5 times. They took the bat and measured it across home plate. And it was further up with pine tar than is allowed. There you see it. So anyway, let's move on. All right. So here's the guy right here. Foye Olakun. Led the league in tackles last year with the Atlanta Falcons. Jaguars made him an offer he couldn't refuse. He went on to Florida this season, and he's top 3 in the NFL right now in tackles. And you can see he's a top-ranked linebacker, averaging almost 8.5 for my Nutztown Destroyers. They dropped him in early October, then picked him up. And he's been extra valuable. You can see the circle there, right? As the tackle, he was credited with a full tackle from a half tackle. So that changed it from 9 points to 10 points for him. And that changed the outcome of the score again. 175 to 174 instead of a 174 tie, which would have, in turn, sent Dinglings to the playoffs. So initially, until yesterday morning, Wednesday morning, Dinglings had the 5th seed. He was set to play Del Rey. Polk had the 6th seed. He would have played Smash. And that got flip-flopped, and this again became the playoffs. Playoffs! So congratulations to playoff teams. A fantastic Fox. He gets in and takes the 5th seed. Or I'm sorry, he takes the 6th seed from Polk. Polk grabs the 5th seed. And that's what happens. So again, the scoreboard here, right? Shows you played till the end. Fox didn't even think he was going to the playoffs. He thought he was, with a win, he thought he was done till next year. And he gets in the playoffs. Final standings in League de Nutz. Let's take a look at them, shall we? You see the Haganah, able to get my 12th win, as I mentioned a moment ago, a Hanukkah gift to yours truly. Won it by 5 games in that division. Delray, the rookie, takes it 8-7, a game up on Fox, who got in over the butt fumbles, as I just explained. Hanukkah, Christmas, came early for Fox as well. Good enough to get in at 7-8, and the rookie wins the division in his first year. No longer a rookie, you're a sophomore when you go to the playoffs. Furley Roper, ABs, talked about him earlier, on a 7-game win streak. Comfortable 2-game division win to take the crown. How about Polk? They win 3 straight to get in the playoffs. We'll touch on it. 2 and back. Good enough, though. Good enough, right, to get in and do their thing and shuffle in the playoffs. A game over 500, 8-7. Then Luca Brazzi. Smash wins it handily. He's lost a couple straight heading into the playoffs. Smash. And yours truly, I was on a 9-game win streak where I didn't lose from October through November. Smash was on an 8-game win streak. He's now lost 2 straight. But hey, that's the regular season. What does it mean? Absolutely nothing, right? Because Derek Jeter said it best. A lot of baseball going on here. There's always a lot of baseball. Drop it in. Good teams make the playoffs. Hot teams win the playoffs. The Yankee captain. Just named Aaron Judge the captain of the New York Yankees. I'll tell you what, that doesn't feel right. Right? Something about that to me, I say right, I'm agreeing with myself, feels like the wooden peg into the wooden circle type of thing. It's inorganic. It's somehow being forced. I want to see a few rings before they name, I didn't mean to flip anyone the bird. Should say that one, right? I want to see a few rings before they name 99 or anyone else the captain, just because number 2 is in that high of regard. I don't think I'll ever see another Eli. I won't. I don't think you will either, right? I'll do it with the football. You. I don't think you will either see another New York combination at the same time like Eli and Jeter. Pure leaders and champions, and cuts above when it comes to just being class acts on and off the field. Anyway, as we move on, let's take a look at a very special award that someone has to win. And it's called the Meltzy. And this year's winner is Loopy's Legends. What a horrible year for Loops. But Loopy's wins the Meltzy with 3 Meltzys for the season. Last week, the honor, you see it for yourself, was bestowed upon Stanford Those Nuts as he got crushed by AB's Splat-a-tat-tat 180 to 100. So we'll do a double here. Sorry to do this to you Tennessee Titans and to Loopy's, who uses that Titans logo as his own. He's getting pooped on. But this is for you, Stanford, for winning in Week 15, and for Loopy's for taking the season in the Meltzy. I need a towel to scrub this place down. I really do. No towels. Gotta get clean in here, I'm telling you. Anyway, big honor there for those 2 guys. Both of them didn't make the playoffs, and they took, one of them took the Meltzy in the finale week, and the other one took it for the season. In other words, stay away from the Meltzy. No good. That's not something you want to win. But hey, both guys, they did their thing, and they were true champions. Speaking of champions, right? This is what it's all about. The Nutz Cup right there that money in. I've got seven payments in right now. So you can get it in via the Zelle, right? You can get it in from the Cash App, PayPal. I'm going to tell you, I'm serious about this because now I'm coming right at you with the football again, right at you. You get that payment in. PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, United States Postal Service. Stamps are, I think, 50 cents or more now. I don't even know. Last time I used a stamp, I used them forever stamps. But anyway, please do get the payment in. All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about the matchups we've got right now going on. We've got some playoffs happening, right? Thursday night football. Another Amazon stinker. I don't know what it is, but the Amazon games, they suck. They're horrible. And then last night you had the Jets and you had Jacksonville. And I thought from the opener, I was like, Jacksonville wins this game, and it's just a matter of how poorly they can play down to the Jets' level. You know, I'm old school. I come from the old school and the fact that, let's see, I show you the scoreboard, and then I'm just going off. But coming from the old school, the fact that I remember Phil Simms, and teams would stick with quarterbacks. They'd go through injuries, they would go through ups, downs, peaks, valleys, and they would stick with them until they physically matured, until they were healthy and mentally matured. But the kid Wilson, I'm guilty of it too. I watch him play, and there's something ain't right. He just hasn't, no moxie. Plays without any enthusiasm, and I think he's very immature. I'm not a big fan of his whatsoever. But with that said, you made a huge investment in him, and I guess you got to give him time. I don't know. For the Jets to figure out, but he looks awful. And the Thursday night Amazon dud. Well, somewhat of a dud, I would say, for Del Rey because Lawrence was all right. Wilson on the Jets. You got 24 points between them for Del Rey. I'll go to the box score in a minute. Fantastic Fox only got 5 out of that game. Let's go to the box and show you what's doing here. As Fox was able to get the 5-0 lead in the third inning over Smash, thanks to Kirk. Told you I got some baseball stuff going today. Kirk only 3 receptions, 22 yards. So really that's the only guy going between the two teams, right? But it's interesting here in this one, as Smash started out as an 18-point favorite. And right now, Smash is projected. It's still 18 points, 158 to 135. Interesting. You take a look at that scoreboard and you take a look at that box score. And just go through it here, player by player. I'm going to tell you about their one meeting in the regular season in a moment. But, oh man, I'll tell you. You look at the quarterbacks. Whoops. Sorry, guys. See what happens when you
with the right opportunity. As a City Gold client, you'll have
friggin' ESPN. You open up the what do you call it? The matchup, right? And they jam that ad down your throat. So I'm trying to see the matchup as we look at the box score, and you get a commercial for a bank. So hopefully that's turned off. All right. Anyway, let's move on. If you look at the matchup here, quarterbacks-wise, Dak has been up, down, all the way around for Smash. I'm going to it, there's no doubt about it. Delvin's insane. Your Pollard, Warren. After Stevenson and Cook. Stevenson could go off. He's been great for Fox. I give him a lot of credit with Stevenson because he's a good pickup. And he's a guy that Fox has been able to battle his way back into the season with. into the postseason, right? And get that miracle and get back into the playoffs. But Stevenson has been solid. So when you look at that over there and that potential matchup, I think I got some numbers on him. There I do. When you look at Stevenson last week and what he did, 30 points in the finale win with a great game, which was one hell of a loss for Bill Belichick's Patriots in Las Vegas, but a win for Fox, right? Take the 172 yards and touchdown, the 30, and look how he's sneaky, Stevenson. 9th best ranked running back in fantasy, about 16 a game. So I like that play right there. You get Stevenson. I think he can match up on any given Sunday with Delvin Cook, who's going to face a tough Giants defense. You got Pollard, who's been great too. You know, I forget about him because of Zeke, but he's averaging 18 a game, and he's the 6th best fantasy football running back. But you never know. And he plays Philly, who we know is as stingy as you get a defense. Now, Philly's going to have to clamp down, right, on him and Ezekiel. And then Warren, well, only 5 points a game, so you're asking for big things from him as he goes against Las Vegas this weekend. By the way, it's that game for Las Vegas and the Raiders. Rest in peace, Franco Harris. It was the 50th anniversary. It is the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, and days before, number 32, the legend for the Steelers. Again, rest in peace, Franco Harris passes away. How about that, right? What a play in football history. It's amazing with that play that I know there's, the technology was around, there's NFL films, but there was that many camera angles. When you see that play, that they were able to pick up on all those. There was no, floating camera over the field or eyes in the skies. There's so many different camera looks now. They have 20-plus cameras on any given Monday night matchup. And the Super Bowl, this, that, and the other thing. But it's cool that they were able to capture that play. And it'll rest in the annals of NFL history as perhaps the, biggest miracle play out there, maybe in football history. That, Doug Flutie's play, and the Herm Edwards Sargic fumble, miracle at the Meadowlands. There are a few, right? Even that play with the Raiders that I said, the Patriots, when they took on the Raiders, they took on the Raiders in Las Vegas on Sunday, and the Patriots won that game in overtime. They lost that game in overtime because they they were throwing the ball around, and they were playing a hot potato on that last play, a hook and ladder, and then they threw it into the arms of the special teams defender for the Raiders. It was a former Patriot. He scrambles in. And I thought a couple years ago, I remember that game, I think it was 3-4 years ago with Drake, Kenyon Drake on the Dolphins. It was a hook and ladder play against the Patriots. And I said, how can a Belichick team be so sloppy and lose like that? It was a street yard play, and then it happened again. So, goes to show you those fluke plays do happen, but the Franco Harris one was it was undefensible, and it was clearly, a gift from above. And the name in itself, I thought about this week, the Immaculate Reception, is as good as the play, right? You don't get a description of a play in sports that matches that. So again, rest in peace, Franco Harris. But again, we go back. I deter a little bit. Good at doing that. Talk about that matchup. It's going to be an interesting one. Rest of the way, as Fox only has that 5-point lead again. Christian Kirk, you needed more than that because he's going against, we know, the creme de la creme of wide receivers. And if you go back to the Week 8 matchup, you see what the wide receivers for Smash did against Fox. This is the only time these guys wound up playing this season. And the final in that was 256-199. 6 players over 30 for Smash. 2 over 40. Hopkins, 12 catches, 188 yards. Hill, 12 catches as well. So Hill had 42, Hopkins had 46. On the other end, Fox played him well. Usually you score 200 points and no one's going to beat you. But as I said, Smash was in the throes of his win streak then. So Fox couldn't hang with all those receivers. Even though he played very well. Almost 3 guys near 40. 2 had 39. So we'll see. Sutton only had 3, but he's not in the lineup right now for Fox. Fox has been in the league for about 4 years. And he claimed his historic moment in victory back in the 2018 final against another rookie squad back then, and Fox won it. You can see the top 5 finishers, right, in League de Nutz, and he won the whole enchilada with an 8-5 mark. So fantastic Fox. Trotted his way to victory, and he gets back in there when he didn't probably think. Probably opened that computer Wednesday or so, the League de Nutz email, and said, how the hell am I in the playoffs? But you're there. So you made some history. You won a title. You're one of the newer teams in the league, but you've distinguished yourself as a force to be reckoned with. Meanwhile, Smash, well, he's got a lot to his credit, doesn't he? Smash all time, you can see the record right there. 142, 89, and 1. Well over 60% winning percentage, 63, 2 titles, 8 top 5 finishes, 5 top 3 finishes in his 11th season in the league. In the league, he's been to the playoffs every season except once. Clear-cut argument for the GOAT. And he looked like it again with his 57-point win in week number 8. But hey, that was then. This is now. And we'll see how these matchups go this weekend. Right? Should be very interesting. To make up for Kirk's lack of points, you're going to need all you can get from Lamb, who's as good as any receiver on the right side that Smash has. Williams, another guy that can match up with any of them. Tight end situation, Waller's extremely talented, but he's always hindered by injuries. Schultz is on and off, depends. Dallas has so many weapons, right? That running game's not going well, or the passing game's going extremely well. They start covering Lamb, that could leave open guys like Schultz. So it's a gander with the tight end. The intangibles are the intangibles. I know Robbie Gould's been around since the beginning of time. Justin Tucker as well. Eagles defense, staunch. At Dallas, could be tough. Titans defense has been staunch. At Houston, could be very good. And again, defense matters, right? As I told you all about my defensive player. And one tackle literally changed the whole playoff paradigm in League de Nutz, and it changed the whole season for 2 different squads. So it's extremely, extremely important to get every point you can out of your starters, out of your bench. Don't take the defense lightly. Don't take the defensive players, the kickers lightly. You guys know this. This is all basic stuff. I'm just thinking out loud, right? Being a protective commissioner for those involved in these playoffs. Let's move on and talk about the other playoff matchup going on. 24-0. Delray Pounders right now in action against Polkai. Now the quarterback situation, I mentioned, Lawrence got 18, Garrett Wilson got 6, for both of them. For Delray, disappointing. Lawrence had a couple great weeks, back-to-back till he ran into a non-buzzsaw called the New York Jets. But yesterday, this guy not going to play. Not going to play for the Ravens, and Delray has rolled all season with Lamar, but 3 weeks or so he's been out, and the Ravens don't want to chance him with his injury, so Delray had no choice but to start Lawrence, and Again, back-to-back weeks of 40. You figured maybe he can give you one of those. For Del Rey, you've got some guys that have gone off. You've got McKinnon, who's been an absolute beast of late, as he's scored 49 and 34 in weeks 14 and 15 respectively. That's impressive when you got all those weapons on Kansas City. Swift. Well, Del Rey's waiting for some big things out of Swifty. Their first round pick, 4th overall in the league, the Nutz draft, way back in August, around Labor Day weekend. He hasn't gone off in quite some time, though, Swift. He had 31 in the season opening win. Has only had 20 once since, 20 or more points. In week 13, he had 20 against Jacksonville. So this is a guy that what I'm trying to get to is that Del Rey is going to rely on to hit one out of the park. And you got some guesses in there in the lineup for Del Rey. As I mentioned, Wilson. What are you going to do? You got Hodgins for the Giants. He's by default their main target. Boyd's a fantastic player if he can get it going, which he did a little bit last week against the Bucs. And Njoku I love, but is he a matchup for the guy on the left side, Kittle? I don't think so. Kittle's superb. Next to my guy, Kelsey, best tight end in football. Polk has got some players, you know, when it comes to guys that can be the 3 best wide receivers in football and in fantasy on any given Sunday. Chase, McLaurin, and Watson. I think Watson could be, I've said this before, the most talented receiver in football. He's learning as he goes, on-the-job training, and it's paid off. There's some dividends and spades for Polk, like in Week 10, 49 against Dallas, 38 in Week 12 against Philly, so he's done it against great teams. Only 8 last week against the Raiders, hell in Miami, in Florida, here in Week 16, so that should be nice to escape blustery, put in mildly Green Bay and get a chance to play down in South Florida. So lots of playmakers on both teams. I think the Jacobs, Elliott matchup in the backfield even. I mentioned McKinnon. You got Moss. You got the other kid from Atlanta for Polk. Got to get some big games out of them. Chase I touched on a moment ago. He's fantastic, and that's just a benefit to Polk, who wins their 3rd straight. But the most important player and the biggest move that Polk made was back on November 2nd, right? What did he do so special? Well, he parted ways with Russell Wilson and picked up Justin Fields. You see Fields' numbers last week, 27 points. Look at all he's done for Polk since he scooped him off that waiver wire. Talk about being savvy. 2-time champ in his own right, Polk, right? As he was able to get Fields going in his lineup, win 3 straight, go to the playoffs. He initially drafted Russell Wilson like the Broncos, their fans, fantasy football, owners everywhere. They expected big-time things from Wilson. You got nothing. Here's the comparison. Look at Fields. Rostered by almost 100%, 96%. Who's the 4% that doesn't roster him now? You got to wonder, when Polk picked him up on November 2nd, how many people rostered him then? Right? Justin Fields is doing his best impersonation of Jalen Hurts. Reminds me a lot of him. And he's developing quickly into a fantastic football player. And you can bet that Polk is going to look to ride him like a horse throughout the playoffs. So that should be interesting to see how Fields potentially does some justice for Polk, even though it's a horrible Chicago team. They'll get their hands full. They'll take on Buffalo on Saturday at home. Talk about blistery place. The windy city of Chicago. Polk has had a great run in League de Nutz. Whoa, Bundy. Oh, yeah. Right? Whoa, Bundy. There goes Al Bundy, protecting himself against all the thugs. They thought they were going to Upper Uncton. They wound up in Lower Uncton. For the mighty Dodge, Polk High School in his 11 seasons, 77 wins, 65 losses, right? As Polk all time, has won a couple titles. He's had a handful of top 3 finishes, 5 of them, 7 playoff appearances. And he's been one of the steadiest players in League, the Nutz, and he's one of those guys, when you count him out, he finds a way to get in the playoffs. And you really don't want to face him. But Delray, you've got no choice. No choice at all. Now, when they played, I showed you that George Brett clip, right? We never got to see his reaction. So maybe I'll just roll that again. Start talking about George Brett for another 45 minutes. Have you throw eggnog at the screen. But, right there, you see the tie, 154 all. Just a couple weeks ago, these two played to the draw in week 13. As Polk won on the bench points, and they won thanks to Geno Smith. And Geno coming up with 33 points. That was the other guy Polk had in the mix. Started Russell Wilson for a while till Geno proved himself, which has seemed like he's been doing that for 10 years, but he has. And then while that happened, Polk was able to go scoop up Fields and make it happen. So Geno led to a win when he wasn't even playing. And, I had to do it too. As I keep talking, you have to see George Brett just go gaga. I told you I wasn't done. It's interesting. You get Keldar. There he goes. Talk about a reaction. I think that's Keldar's reaction to not making the playoffs. The same reaction that George Brett had. I told you I would give it to you. That's my Christmas present to you. George Brett going ridiculously wild 30 years ago. And me still talking about it. And he really did have hemorrhoids at one time. You go look that up. That's my Hanukkah gift to you. Keldar, definitely not the finish he wanted. Lost 3 straight. Was on his way to the playoffs. When you check this, each and every week throughout the season he was there, but he does not make it. But when you talk about the other teams that make it, like that Jeter quote I showed you, right? Good teams make the playoffs. Hot teams win the playoffs. AB's, again, 7 in a row. Fox, 3 in a row. Polk, 3 in a row. I've won 2 straight. Smash has lost 2 straight. So it's interesting. And then when it comes down to the points for the season, 5 of the 6 teams, I think, in the playoffs have the most points. Or 7 of the, I think Polk was 7, so yeah. So 5 teams are in the playoffs with the highest points scored. And Polk is on the outside looking in. So in other words, you got to be hot. You got to score a lot of points. Take care of your division, you're getting in, right? There's all these different elements. And all these different factors to take into account, including the NFL schedule. Busy, busy, busy Saturday. You got that one dud last night. Then you get the crux of your games on Saturday. Giants will play 1 o'clock. Look at that. At 12 o'clock. Giants will play at Minnesota. And you got a handful of games in addition to the Giants at noon. Give the football players time off for Christmas. The nightcap will be Las Vegas and Pittsburgh. And Sunday, only 3 games, and then you have your Monday nighter. So set your lineups accordingly because the NFL calendar gets tricky this time of year, especially with the college bowl season, right? Just about to start up around New Year's. So they get last weekend, this weekend, to take center stage in the NFL, and they certainly take full advantage of that. Anyway, want to wish everyone certainly a happy holidays again, whatever you celebrate. Have a good time out there, or in there, right? Big snowstorm hit most of the country. So take care of yourself. Have fun. Hope you get the gift you've been dreaming about. If you don't, then there's always next year. And I hope you give someone the gift they've been dreaming about. Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, for me, there's only one gift I want. It's a Nutz cup. That's it. Got my front teeth. I want a Nutz cup. That's what I'm looking for. That's what 6 other teams are looking for. 'Tis the season. So, to the other respective franchise owners in the playoffs, I wish you all the best and much luck. For everyone watching this week in League de Nutz, for the 80th time, I wish you a happy holidays. Enjoy. I'm Matt Levine. I'll see you next week right here on This Week in League de Nutz, and we'll talk about the Final Four as we'll go to the semifinals. I'll catch you later.